Hi everyone, welcome to our tech talk on NDR. We're still waiting for a couple of more attendees, so we're not going to take the full hour anyway. Let's just give it 5 minutes and we will start at 25 to 11. Thanks very much. Hi guys. So thank you all for joining our tech talk today. We've decided to go with the topic of NDR, which is a relatively new sort of technology in the cybersecurity space. It's pretty revolutionary with all the new AI that's coming out. And so, just an introduction. I'm Brad Steyn, I'm the General Manager for the Cybersecurity Division at First Distribution. Alongside me, I have the experts, Mr. Bertie Neethling, who is an SE for the Cybersecurity Division, and Mr. Mark van Wyk is also SE for the cybersecurity division. Bertie's based in Cape Town, in Joburg, and Mark is based in Cape Town. So without any further ado, we'll just kick it off, and we'll start off with like a simple one, asking Bertie to explain, what is NDR, Bertie?
Bertie, I'm afraid we can't hear you. I think you're having a sound issue.
Sorry, I was caught on mute there. Hi everyone. NDR stands for Network Detection and Response. It assists your security team with identifying malicious traffic and if there's a threat actor trying to gain access to your network. NDR not only looks at your north-south data that's coming in or going out, but also at your east and west traffic, which is traffic flowing through your network from your users to the server or from one user to another. If you have cloud infrastructure, a remote workforce, or a hybrid model, or even an on-prem data center, you'll definitely need an NDR solution.
No, that's interesting. A lot of our audience may be familiar with what EDR is, which is endpoint detection and response, which has been around for quite a while, sitting in the endpoint. Mark, how does this differ, or does it compete with the network and detection and response technology?
So, Brad, as you said, maybe aware of EDR, which is endpoint detection and response. And for most of us to understand it, it's basically deployed on devices like laptops, servers, desktops, smartphones, and the likes. And so in most instances, EDR is bolted onto the AV on those systems. And this is done by a sensor that is installed. And because it's got a sensor, when the attackers actually do a scan of the environment, they can pick up all this kind of information, what virus, antivirus you've got, what sensors are running, what OS in that is. And this is where NDR becomes into its own, because we see that NDR directs its detection to the data that is observed through the network of the organization. There are no sensors loaded and it's completely unseen by the attacker. So they'll come on, do their scans, they won't even know that this application is up and running on the environment. And because of that, and the way it works, that is the key differentiator between the two. So therefore it won't compete with each other, but it does complement each other.
All right. That's pretty interesting. We say we get visibility by being invisible. Quite a contrast. Find that interesting. How does it work actually, Bertie, the ins and outs? So we're saying that there's, it sits alongside the network or it's invisible. Maybe you can just explain, without a sensor, how does NDR actually work?
Yes, so what happens is your NDR, as Mark mentioned, sits parallel to your network. So what it does is it mirrors all your network traffic. Any traffic flowing through your network, in or out, doesn't matter. It has a complete view of your entire network, and it then reports back to your security team if there's any anomalous behavior. The mirroring of the network happens with the help of a network tap or a span port on your network, and that then in turn gives the NDR the visibility to the threat actor that was mentioned earlier by Mark.
Okay. So it sits alongside the network. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
All right. So it sounds like, we talk about network performance monitoring tools. Doesn't this sound like it's a glorified NPM similar solution, Mark? Whoa, that sounds strange.
Well, there's most people use NPM to monitor their bandwidth usage, data speeds, proper network routines, and things like so. NPM does not usually come with a security feature that's built onto it. And if it does, this will be a very basic security functionality that NPM has. But this is where NDR is actually quite nice, because NDR has its roots firmly established in NPM, and therefore it gives us the environment from a security point of view. So you see that NDR systems specifically target the prevention and removal of threat actors on your network. And by doing this, it allows both your SecOps and your DevOps to benefit from this data. And if we use an example of a traffic cop, say for example, NDR acts like a highway police officer, is monitoring traffic on the highway, and when the officer sees a violation, it will take the necessary action to ensure that this traffic continues safely. And that's basically what NDR will do for us. It will monitor our environments and will take the necessary action to prohibit the threat actors to continue on the network.
All right, that's a good analogy actually. I see, I see that as a pretty good value proposition, that it's got, network performance monitoring as an underlying feature. Does that mean that we bringing our NetOps division and our SecOps division together with an NDR tool?
Yeah, for most instances, as people would know, they work in these industries, is that NetOps and SecOps don't really work together well. They have normally, and when there's issues, they normally blame each other and point fingers saying, it's not my problem, it's yours. But this is where NDR will help both teams. It creates some mutually beneficial relationship and understanding between these two departments, and it allows them to work together to be able to make a decent security posture and helping their customers.
Yeah, okay. So in other words, a tool consolidation. Bertie, I can't seem to hear you. So Bertie, I don't know if you heard my question. I was just asking about, Mark spoke about bringing the NetOps guys and the SecOps guys together. We're talking a bit about potential tool consolidation. Is that how you see it?
Yes, definitely. Whenever you get to a customer, the first thing they tell you when it comes to budget, they want to save money. And the next question is, how can I consolidate some of the tools to manage my environment? So in a world where cost saving is king and consolidation is its better half, having an NDR is really something your client needs to look at. You've got your NetOps and your SecOps guys using the same tool, getting the same information from one pane of glass.
But let's be clear, the NDR tool, Bertie, is pulling the data, and there's two separate reports. One generally for the SecOps guys, one for the NetOps guys. Is that right? So the same data is being collected, it's just being shown in a different way.
That's correct, yes. So it collects the same data, does the same thing, but it separates it for your SecOps guys and your NetOps guys, so that each of them can perform their duties without having to try and consolidate into one report, into one dashboard. Yeah,
I think that's right. The cost saving can't go unnoticed. Generally, in today's situation, people are splitting those tools and paying for two separate techs. So it's nice that there's been a tool that's been invented that can do both under a single budget. Although those are pretty good value propositions, what else should the team look at when they're evaluating a network and detection and response tool, Mark?
Well, there's basically four areas that we need to look at and consider. Firstly is the visibility, because we need to be able to see and interact with the data that is being stored and collected to be able to do our analysis around that. Then we have the value, and as mentioned, this is a huge impact because of the cost savings that can help, and because of that, the way it works is a very simple and quick way of deploying this environment. Our next one would be the control, because with control we were able to filter the data, prioritize our threats on a very complex networks, allowing our SecOps to do the work that they are employed to do. But lastly, and which is most importantly, is the effectiveness, because NDR will help accelerate these incident response and threat hunting of an organization, and it has the ability to add advanced forensic purposes if required.
Okay. But we said earlier that it doesn't really compete with an EDR. It actually complements it.
Yes, it doesn't compete with the EDR. It works well together with the EDR, and together with the SIEM solution forms what we call a SOC triad. So SOC stands for Security Operating Center. That would become a must-have one of these days in any environment that you want to keep safe and safe from breaches and malicious insiders.
All right. I agree with you. I think in the, those that can afford to do the SOC triad, maybe you just want to elaborate for our audience. What is the SOC triad? What are you referring to when you mention that?
Okay, so in any security operating center, you've got the three words that is mostly spoken is response, remediation, and investigation. But before I elaborate on that, when we talk about a SOC triad, what I'm referring to is a SIEM, a NDR, and an EDR. All three of these technologies working together to give you a more clearer view of your environment. As I said, the three words on response, your security team will obviously see an incident displayed on any of the display screens within your SOC center. Then they will, that will normally be picked up by an EDR or NDR, and that will then feed into your SIEM. They will then start the remediation process. That's where they start remediating any of these breaches before it becomes a reportable breach. Once the breach has been remediated, the investigation side starts. That is where your security team will investigate how the breach happens. Once they have all the facts, they then have the ability to write a use case to automate the response for the next time a similar event occurs.
Yeah, that does sound pretty helpful to anyone who's sitting in the SOC. But I don't think it automates the investigation. Is this just a visibility tool, Mark?
Not at all. As Brad has mentioned in that, as we've looked at the SIEM environment, the security information event management side, this is part of it. You can correlate all the information into the SIEM, but this is not required from that point for NDR. But NDR as a solutions will help us guide investigations of a level 1 analyst or investigator to do an investigation like that of a level 3 analyst. This helps also once again with cost savings. There's then free training on the job, basically for the level 1 analysts. It's a huge ROI because of the cost savings of trying to employ a level 3 analyst, where level 1 is able to do that work, and it helps us grow the skills shortage within the industry.
Yeah, that's a major benefit. Having worked in cybersecurity for quite a long time, I don't think I've come across a SOC that has the full staff complement that everyone's looking for. So if a tool can help a junior technician or investigator behave or do investigations to the level 3, I think it benefits everyone. And the ROI that you would get from the saving of maybe employment or training is unparalleled. So we talk about SOCs and quite big customers. Bertie, is there a certain sort of level of maturity that or size of customer that we should be looking at who should be investing in this sort of technology?
Yes, so as I mentioned earlier, budget always plays a big part when any company buys new tech. So for your smaller customers or your smaller offices, you can buy a smaller appliance, maybe a 1 gig with a land and expand strategy. But an NDR solution does work well in a more mature security environment where you already have a SIEM in place, already have an EDR in place, or maybe both. It really comes down to your needs. I know some customers that started off the NDR and used it only as an NPM, and later branched out in using more functionality, and then more functionality that the NDR has to offer. So it's definitely a play for both of them, but for your enterprise guys, it does work a bit better.
Interesting. So we're trying to figure out, you say there's a smaller appliance for your smaller sort of businesses. However, we do kind of see that a company should be at a certain maturity level or on a security or far further along on their security journey, should they be looking to invest or get the most value from a network detection and response module. Is that right?
Yeah, so yes, so for your enterprise level customers, you're normally looking to sell a standalone EDR. They most of the time already have a SIEM or an EDR in place, and they want to complete the SOC triad. With your SME customers or partners, you can offer it as a service if you are MSSP. NDR is a good technology. It's a good fit for technology partners that is focusing on the as a service industry, because that will then be a nice tool that you can sell as a service if you want.
All right. I understand. I think we all understand what you're saying, that the company does actually need to be of a certain level, but anyone can invest in this company. You know, we know a lot of big companies who are advanced in their cybersecurity, and we know a lot of big companies that aren't. So smaller companies are advanced a long way across, and also bigger companies who are lacking. Just for our audience, Mark, you know, the tech sounds really good, but is it hardware? Is it a physical appliance? Is it software? Bertie spoke about an MSSP, is a SaaS offering. Maybe you can just elaborate on the tech itself.
Well, there's a very good saying that says different strokes for different folks, and that's exactly how the NDR works. We've got options of physical appliances, virtual appliances, software that can be loaded on premises or a cloud, or even SaaS offerings within the cloud options. But there are some considerations that need to take place. You need to have a look at, for example, what is better suited for your different environment. And we take the example of a physical appliance might be better suited for environments that are up to more than 1,000 plus devices compared to your virtual appliance, because your virtual appliance resources might be quite a bit, and you might not have that available in your data center to be able to supply that. So therefore, we add in the physical appliances as such. But this is all dependent on what we require, how many devices are involved in that, and we cater for all kinds of environments.
Great. You know, everyone when evaluating techs looks for flexibility and scalability, and I think this certainly looks like it fills both of those. That, you know, if you want it in your data center in a hypervisor environment, fantastic. If you want it as a physical appliance, you can do that as well. So it's good to have flexibility when evaluating tech. But with the adoption of public cloud, does it scale to cloud? Does it work? You know, we spoke about in the data center. Does it work in a hybrid environment or in a standalone cloud environment, Bertie?
Yes, absolutely. It is very easy to deploy on an AWS or Azure platform. It takes a couple of minutes to spin up. And when I say a couple of minutes, it's about 10-15 minutes. And with the way business are moving more towards a public cloud these days, the use of an NDR becomes more and more of a necessity than a nice to have. I mean, there's a lot of hybrid environments. There's still quite a good argument to be made for the on-prem data center. So irrespective of where your mind's at in terms of where your infrastructure has to be, NDR would definitely be a good fit for you.
All right. So, you know, it seems like the tech is revolutionary. It's on the on the high level, it sounds really good. You know, it's invisible, threat actors can't see it. It saves money from a budget perspective. Seems like there's an ROI there. Is there some way that we can show this off to our partners and to our customers, Mark?
Yeah, as per usual with most of environments that we have access to proof of concepts for our clients and end users to test with, but even there is option for proof of value if it's required for more lengthy testing as for the application. Considering that it's been spun up in a matter of minutes, we'll be able to do this assistance with the end user as well as the business partners. And if you need any assistance, you can just speak to one of the FD security engineers to find more assistance and for help in these environments.
All right. Generally, in order for a customer to find value in a POV or POC, what's the best length of time that might be beneficial for them to get or to see the value in the tech? You know, sometimes it's 1 week, sometimes it's up 2 months, maybe it's 30 days. What is your advice?
Well, for a POC, we look around about 2 weeks because that will give us enough information that is pulled from the network to see what is actually happening on the network and if there are any threats on this network. But for POV, we normally run it around a month and a half to give you a better value. It can be pushed to 2 months if required, but it will give us a lot more insight into your environment. So, like we said before, it all depends what the client's looking at and what they're trying to achieve. And from that, we can discuss either the POC or POV with them.
Great. You know, I don't think there's much else. I think from a very high level, I think we've covered the bases. I'd like to open up the floor to the attendees to see if there's any questions they may want to put to you guys. Gavin, can that be done?
The attendees can ask the questions in chat and then we can see what has come through. Attendees, please enter your questions and answers in the Q&A section.
In the interim, I will ask another question that I might have. You know, we spoke about network performance monitors, we spoke about EDR, we spoke about SIEM. You know, maybe let's put some brands into perspective when we talk about these techs. I know perhaps IBM QRadar as an example is a good example of a SIEM solution with RSA NetWitness. Betty, do you want to elaborate on maybe other network performance monitoring tools or EDR tools that perhaps that can be identified as a complementary tech when trying to position in an NDR solution?
Yeah, definitely.
What to look out for?
Yeah, so complementary tech. I mean, you've got your Splunks of the world on the SIEM side. On the EDR side, you've got a CrowdStrike, Carbon Black, maybe Cybereason. No, there's quite a few EDR products out there, and then yeah, it's definitely a lot of tech that can plug into this. And the API side is normally very easy to slot into with any type of solution that you would find complementary towards completing a better or giving you better visibility within your environment or for your SOC analysts.
Yeah. I still don't see any other questions coming through, but maybe we should just touch on, I just thought about, how's the stuff licensed?
So,
yeah, so it's licensed based on 2 factors. The first factor would be the throughput of your network, and then the second factor is the amount of critical assets that you want to monitor. So based on those 2 criteria, the licensing model would be customized for the customer.
All right. I'm told there's two questions in the chat, but I don't seem to see them. So
I can see all three of them actually. So I'll answer the one from Brett. He's asked.
yeah, you can take over, Mark.
Cool. We've mentioned reporting and investigation. What is the point, or at what point does the tool stop the intrusion? That's the one question. Like all things like your EDR, antiviruses will stop certain things at a certain point in there, except zero-day attacks. These tools are consolidated, so if you're using a SIEM, that will help your SOC analysts actually do the investigation and then go ahead and stop the intrusion on that. There's still some form of human interaction that is needed behind this. If you look at, and I'll use the example of the US pipeline that was attacked. Yeah, they had ransomware on their computers, but the attackers actually shut down the valves of that pipeline, and that is the only way they can do that is accessing the network from that environment. And if they had tools like this, they would have noticed that there was an attack on the network before this actually happened on their side.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. I've actually been able to see the questions now. I was looking in the wrong place. The next question, Bertie, I'm going to put it to you, is from Charles. In case I have an XDR in my IT environment, do I still need NDR?
Yeah, so just for the people out there that's not sure what an XDR is, XDR stands for Extended Detection and Response. That is a combination of a EDR and an NDR. So if you do have a XDR in your environment, to buy an NDR is probably not in the budget, as I said earlier. But definitely NDR is more of a specialized tool, and it can always be added to give you a bit of more defense in depth. I mean, it's nowadays outages happen so easily. So it's definitely something that you can look at. But if you do have XDR, in most cases, especially in your smaller enterprises, XDR would probably be more sufficient.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think no one wants to duplicate on the tech. There's different ways that they do it though. So, I wouldn't say XDR is a complete, if you got EDR, we spoke about the SOC triad of an EDR and an NDR. In layman's terms, yes, that is XDR, but that's not exactly how it works. It's not 1 + 1 = 2 in any stretch of the imagination when it comes to that. The next question is from Nazir, with a big push to...
Thank you. Can I just add in this, if you don't mind?
Sure.
XDR. We must consider that the XDR, it's supposed to be more than a holistic view of everything, and it's more centered around the smaller businesses, because a lot of the tools out there aren't as, how will we put it, in depth as, for example, an ExtraHop or a Darktrace or a CrowdStrike has. They're very basic levels of NDR. So when it comes to, this is what we say, is when it comes to an organization, they might have XDR in place. They might need an additional NDR, dependent on what they're trying to achieve on that side. Yeah,
all right. I tend to agree. Okay, so the next one is from Nazir. It says, in an organization, who's the target market to sell this tech to? So Nazir, we spoke about the SecOps and the DevOps coming together. You can do a dual pitch or you do them individually. From my perspective, I don't know if anyone has anything to add. So you'd look at your CISO, definitely, your Chief Information Security Officer. You'll probably look at your CTOs, your Chief Technology Officers, and we talk about quite a big savings when it comes to an ROI with regards to the budget. So the bean counters and your financial directors will also want to be involved. So anyone who works in the SecOps team or the DevOps team or the NetOps team, sorry, would be the people who would be trying to target for this sort of technology. Sometimes we pitch it to the net ops guys, and then we bring in the security guys later, or sometimes we do it vice versa, go to the security guys and then bring in the network guys thereafter. Now Zero has another question. It goes, with the big push to the cloud, what would ideal solution for NDR look like to adopt cloud computing? Batty or Mark?
Yeah, so obviously there's always a big push towards the cloud. Ideal solution would be to have your instance spun up in the cloud. As I mentioned earlier, it spins up in about 10 or 15 minutes, and then you can manage it from there. You can also have a appliance on a network level if you do have a hybrid model. But that's definitely the way to do it. Rather have an instance in the cloud and manage it from there. Then working towards where you want to be. If you maybe want to go hybrid or stay hybrid or move fully to the cloud, and that's how you would be able to do that. I just wanted.
Bertie,
Yeah?
would there be a single pane of glass from a management console perspective when hosting it in the cloud or on-prem, or would there be two separate management consoles, one for the public cloud or cloud-based, and one for on-prem?
No, it will be one a single pane of glass that you would be able to manage your on-prem, your cloud, as well as your remote users. So it doesn't matter where people sign on to your network. You'd be able to view them if they're remotely or if they are in the office. I just wanted to mention on the previous question, which organization can you target? With the device being or mirroring your network, you can also look at companies that has quite a lot of IoT devices, like your security companies. You can have an extra screen in your control room, and you will be able to have a visibility of your IP cameras, and if there's anything that's being compromised on your camera network. I know a lot of the times your camera network is segregated from your data networks and all those types of things. So that's also a good target market to have a look at.
Yeah, I think that's right. Generally our IoT devices don't have any, you can't put an agent on any of these IoT devices. So something like an NDR platform will be able to give you good visibility into what's going on in these IoT devices that's probably monitored by an agent. Is that correct?
No. That's correct, yes. So it will definitely give you visibility on anything that has a network port but doesn't have an OS to load a endpoint security on.
All right. I think that's kind of it. I don't see any other questions that have come through. I'd just like to end off by highlighting the benefit of the invisibility and the mirroring of an NDR solution of your network, where you might have a hacker, or Bertie and Mark referred to a threat actor trying to breach your network. They will have no visibility of you having these tools in place when they're trying to breach your network. So they might try, but you'll be able to see them, but they will have no idea that you have eyes on them and see what they are doing. And that is one of the main features that I think can't go unnoticed. I think it's a really, really top selling point, that it mirrors the network and is completely invisible to any hackers from outside the network. Is there anything you'd like to conclude with, Bertie or Mark?
If I'm
sorry, Mark, you can go.
It's just regards to like the cloud adoption. A lot of people, yes, everything's going to the cloud. You must consider that you're putting servers and the likes in the cloud. But you cannot forget that from an office, you have an environment that still needs to be monitored. And that's your networking environment. If an attacker accesses that environment, they will get access to your cloud. So this is where it becomes quite essential that, yeah, we'll have a cloud deployment in the cloud in that, but you still need to monitor the network environment on-prem for that.
Yeah, so from my side, I wanted to say is just remember, you don't know what you don't know. By getting an NDR, you're switching the lights on in your network, and you'll be able to inspect, well, all 7 layers of traffic within your network. So it's definitely something that will only complement someone. I haven't seen any use case where an NDR has been rendered useless or not necessary in any environment. So I definitely would say that if you are serious about security, if you are serious to not become a statistic, one of the companies that has been breached, because nowadays it happens more often than not. So if you're serious about your security and you definitely want to have a tool that would be able to assist you in a world where there's skill shortages, in a world where there's always some other threat actor trying to access your network, that's definitely something that you need to look at.
All right. Thanks, Bertie. I think I'd like to just conclude just by saying if anyone on this call would like to see the tech in action, allow us to have a discussion with our partners, with your customers, just please call on us. I'm sure you have my details, or Bertie or Mark's details, or Gavin can send them out. Just be in touch with us, and we'll put the steps in place to either demo it, which we said takes a matter of minutes, so 15-minute setup in AWS, and yeah, that's about that. You know, it's not what you don't get the data you expect, you only get the data you inspect. So thanks very much for coming to listen to us today. And oh, one other thing is we've got multiple techs that provide an NDR solution inside First Distribution. So feel free to reach out to any of our SCs, not just the ones on the call, or myself, and we'll point you in the right direction. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.